There is someone in your life who made you feel like the most extraordinary person in the world, and then, without warning, without reason, made you feel like the problem. And you have spent months, maybe years, trying to understand what changed, what you did wrong, why the person who once looked at you like you hung the moon now treats you like a burden. I need to tell you something important before we go any further. Nothing changed. You did not do anything wrong. What changed is that you stopped being new. My name is Dr. Alex. I am a clinical psychologist. And today I am going to give you something that nobody gave you when you needed it most. A clear, honest map of exactly what narcissism is, what it does to the people caught inside it, and the 9 signs that tell you, with clarity, that you are dealing with one. Not to label someone, to protect yourself. Because the most dangerous thing about narcissistic relationships is not what the narcissist does. It is that the people around them spend years not knowing what they are dealing with. First, what narcissism actually is. Because the word gets used so loosely, it has started to lose its meaning. Clinical narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder, is not simply arrogance or self-absorption. A 2025 review of 30 years of narcissism research identifies 2 distinct presentations. Grandiose narcissism, the version most people picture. Dominant, openly entitled, dismissive of others. And vulnerable narcissism, far less visible, far more dangerous. The vulnerable narcissist appears hypersensitive, often wounded, frequently presenting as the victim even when they are the one doing the harm. What both share, without exception, is a profound inability to genuinely empathize with your experience when it conflicts with theirs. Not a reduced capacity, a structural absence. That absence is what drives every behavior I'm about to describe. Let me tell you about Maya, 32 years old. Kind, thoughtful, perceptive. She came to see me after ending a 4-year relationship. She told me she had started keeping notes on her phone. Records of conversations, what was said, what happened. Because she no longer trusted her own memory. She was exhausted. She felt ashamed, though she could not quite say of what. It took 3 sessions before she could say it out loud. I think there was something wrong with him, but I kept thinking it was me. That sentence, I kept thinking it was me, is the sentence I hear most often in my work with people who have been in narcissistic relationships. It is not a coincidence. It is a design feature. Sign 1. The beginning felt almost impossibly good. In the very beginning, they were extraordinary. The attention was overwhelming. They told you early that you were different, that what they felt was unlike anything before, that they had never met anyone like you. This is love bombing. And it is not affection, it is a grooming strategy. A 2025 Cambridge University study, published in Violence Against Women, one of the most rigorous pieces of research ever conducted on this subject, identified what researchers call attachment weaponization. The narcissist is not simply being romantic. They are studying you, rapidly identifying what you need, what you hoped for, what you had been missing, and becoming exactly that, deliberately, specifically, designed to create maximum emotional investment as quickly as possible. Here is what the neuroscience tells us about why it works so completely. Love bombing produces genuine neurochemical bonding. Dopamine, oxytocin, norepinephrine, the same chemicals involved in addiction, flood your brain during the intensity of the early relationship. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for critical thinking and red flag detection, is functionally suppressed by the neurochemical high. You literally cannot see the warning signs. Your brain is intoxicated. Sign 2. The person you fell for began to disappear. Gradually, without explanation, warmth became intermittent. Coldness appeared. Some days they were the person you first knew. Other days, cold, distant, critical. And you could not find the pattern. You could not find what you were doing wrong. Here is what is actually happening. Research on traumatic bonding by Dutton and Painter identified the precise mechanism. 2 specific features create emotional addiction to an abusive person: the power differential and the intermittent style of bad-good treatment. When the devaluation begins and the affection is withdrawn, your dopamine crashes. You experience something neurologically identical to drug withdrawal. The pull to get the warmth back is not emotional weakness, it is neurochemistry. And the intermittent reinforcement, the unpredictable alternation of warmth and coldness, activates the same brain pathways as gambling addiction. Your brain learns to chase the good moments, to work for them, to become increasingly focused on the person rather than less. This is not a character flaw. This is what intermittent reinforcement does to any human brain. Sign 3, you started questioning your own memory, your own reality. Something would happen. And when you tried to address it, you were told it did not happen the way you remembered, or it did not happen at all, or you were misinterpreting it because of your own sensitivity, your history, your issues. This is gaslighting. And in June 2025, Klein, Wood and Bartz published the first rigorous cognitive science account of exactly how it works. In Personality and Social Psychology Review, their framework explains that gaslighting operates through prediction, error minimization. The narcissist consistently presents an alternative version of reality with such confidence and such consistency that your brain begins to update its model of what is true. Not because you are weak, because that is exactly what brains do when faced with confident, repeated contradiction of their own experience. Maya kept notes, not because she was paranoid, because some part of her knew she needed evidence to hold on to what she knew was real. Sign 4, every conversation about what they did wrong became a conversation about what you did wrong. You would approach carefully, calmly, with genuine intention to talk, and within seconds, the conversation had pivoted. You were defending yourself against accusations that had nothing to do with what you raised, against grievances that had never been mentioned before. You left every attempt at accountability feeling worse than when you started. This is DARVO: deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. The person who caused harm recasts themselves as the victim of anyone who challenges them. After enough of these conversations, you stop raising concerns, not because they went away, because you have learned through repeated experience that raising them costs more than staying silent, and your silence gets taken as confirmation that the problem was yours. Sign 5, they were charming to everyone else, magnetic in public, warm, funny, the person everyone liked, which meant that when you tried to describe your experience, you were met with disbelief. They seem so nice. Are you sure you are not exaggerating? Maya said this. I felt like I was the only person in the world who could see him clearly. And then I started to wonder if that meant I was the problem. That doubt, that specific doubt, is precisely what the discrepancy is designed to create. The narcissist requires what clinical psychology calls narcissistic supply, external validation and admiration. The public performance secures that supply. Most people only ever see the performance. The reality is only visible from inside. Sign 6, everything was always about them. Your excitement became a launching pad for their story. Your difficulty, something they had experienced worse. Your achievement, noted briefly, then overshadowed. Research on narcissistic relationships consistently identifies the absence of reciprocal empathy as the structural core of how narcissists relate to the people closest to them. You are not a person they love. You are a role they need filled. And when you stop filling it, through no fault of your own, simply by being human, you become the problem. Think of a river meant to flow in both directions. In a relationship with a narcissist, the current only ever flows one way, toward them. You pour, they receive. Over years, you run dry. Sign 7. You started changing who you were. Hobbies quietly abandoned because they provoked irritation. Friendships slowly distanced because they were subtly undermined. The way you dressed, the way you spoke, the opinions you expressed. All of it gradually shaped by one question that came before every other question. How will they react to this? This is identity erosion. And it does not stop when the relationship ends. The habits of self-monitoring and self-silencing that you develop to survive that relationship do not automatically dissolve. Long after the narcissist is gone, their voice can still be the loudest one in your head. Sign 8. You were never seen as a full person. The idealization phase, when you were extraordinary, lasted as long as you provided what they needed. The moment you became a complex, inconvenient human being with needs of your own, the idealization cracked. What replaced it was not a more honest version of care. It was devaluation. The idealization to devaluation cycle is the central organizing structure of how narcissists relate to people. This is the piece that is hardest to accept. Not because it reflects badly on you, because it means the relationship you are working so hard to save was never quite what you believed it to be. Sign 9. And this is the one that explains everything else. You loved them. Genuinely. Deeply. In a way that confused you, because it coexisted with pain and fear and the persistent feeling that something was very wrong. What you were experiencing has a name. It is a trauma bond. The neuroscience is clear. Trauma bonds are stored in the body, in the nervous system's desperate attachment to the person who is simultaneously the source of danger and the source of intermittent relief. The intellectual understanding that the relationship is toxic does not override this, because the pull is not rational, it is neurological. Research in neuroscience confirms that trauma bonds actually strengthen neural pathways associated with attachment, making these relationships harder to leave than healthy ones. Your brain has been wired to chase the good moments, always hoping the person from the beginning will return. This is not weakness. This is what the cycle was designed to produce. I want to stop here and say something directly to anyone sitting with recognition of what I have just described. You are not weak for having stayed. You are not foolish for having loved them. You are not broken for still missing them. You were in a relationship that was specifically and neurochemically designed to make leaving feel impossible. Your nervous system responded exactly as any human nervous system would respond to those conditions. This is not a character flaw. This is what narcissistic abuse does. Recognizing these signs is not a verdict. It is information. Information you can use to trust your own perceptions again, to stop asking what is wrong with you, because nothing is wrong with you. You saw something others did not see. You felt something that was real, even when you were told it was not. You held on to your reality through years of systematic erosion. That is not weakness. That is extraordinary. If you are currently in a relationship you recognize here, or healing from one, please reach out to a therapist. The patterns that narcissistic relationships leave behind are real, and they are treatable. You do not have to navigate this alone. Type in the comments. What was the sign you recognized first? The one that made something finally make sense? I read every comment. If you have a question, ask it here. Share this with someone who needs to hear that what they are experiencing has a name, that nothing is wrong with them. Subscribe for a new video every week. Next week on childhood trauma and how it shapes the adults we become, the relationships we choose, and the patterns we repeat without knowing why. I am Dr. Alex. You are not too sensitive. You are not imagining it, and you are not alone.